So we're back in activity 15. Today we're going to be dividing polynomials using what's called synthetic division. So we're using a note sheet for this lesson. So get that note sheet that's attached in Google Classroom, and we're going to get started here. Okay, so to divide polynomials, we're going to be using something called synthetic division, but that's how we find the quotient of two polynomials. Okay, so the steps are kind of worked out here. This is an example from your book. But synthetic division kind of means like fake division. So we're not going to do division like the way you've done it maybe when you were learning long division before. It's using a different kind of method, and it kind of is like magic how we get the answer. So what we do is we start by setting it up by writing the coefficients down for each term. Now we need to be careful because we have to make sure there's no missing terms. Okay, let me just maybe make a little note of that here. Make it red. Okay, the first thing we need to have, we can have no missing term. So what that means is it has to go in order. So see how this example goes x to the fourth, and then x squared. It's missing a term. It's missing the third. So we can't like jump powers. So we have to have no missing terms. The other thing we need to make sure we have is that everything is in order. So our expression is in standard form. We have to make sure we're not missing any terms, and also that it's in the right order. It's in standard form, meaning it starts with the biggest exponent and works its way down. So those are the two main things. If we do have a missing term like this example does in the book, okay, you have to put in a 0 for that coefficient. Include 0 coefficients for any missing terms, okay, as kind of like placeholders. So we'll put those in. So we'll do an example where we see that happening. But here's the steps for synthetic division. We always bring down the first term, and then we start doing some kind of math magic. Okay, we multiply the coefficient by the divisor. So 3 times 1 is 3. And then we add vertically. So 0 plus 3 is 3. And then we continue that process. So the next thing would be 3 times 3, that's 9. And then we would add down, so negative 4. And again, we would keep doing this until we're out of numbers. Okay, like they show in this example here. Okay, and then what I always do is I work backwards to get my answer. So in a problem, in division problems, we can have remainders. The remainder is always the last number. So I always start with this is my remainder. This is my constant. Then it would go, this is my x term. This is my x squared term. And this is my x cubed term. So I just start from the right and I kind of work my way up. So what we get when we do synthetic division is the coefficients for our quotient, our answer. Okay, so once we have our coefficients, we would write the answer in. If we ever have a remainder, we write the remainder over the linear term, okay, meaning the shorter of the two terms. So let's just work through a problem, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So for synthetic division, we bring down all of our coefficients. So this 2, okay, the 7, and the 9. We bring down all of our numbers, and we kind of make this little box. Now we're going to divide by the solution for that linear term. Okay, so it's always the opposite sign. So if you had to solve for x here, you'd get that x is equal to negative 2. That's the number that goes in this box. So it's always the opposite sign of the divisor. Okay, so we always start by bringing down our first term. So I just do a little arrow there to remind myself. We bring down that first term, and we don't do anything with it. So now here comes the synthetic division steps. So we take our divisor, and we multiply it by the number. So negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. And then we add these numbers vertically. Okay, so we're going to add down. So 7 plus negative 4 is 3. And then we would do it again until we're out of numbers. So negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Then we add these numbers down. So 9 plus a negative 6 is 3. So now that we have no more numbers, we're done with the synthetic division. We just have to figure out how to write our answer. So again, I always work backwards. So this would be our remainder. This is my constant term then, and this is my coefficient for the x term. So I start from the right and work my way up. So that means our answer here is 2x plus 3. And here's how we write our remainder. Since it's positive, I'm going to put plus 3. We'll always put our remainder over the linear term, your divisor. So over x plus 2. And that is your final answer. Okay. We're going to practice some more on the back side of this note sheet. So let's flip it over. And let's look at these problems. So use synthetic division to divide the following polynomials. So in number 1, again, all you do is take down all of your coefficients for your numbers. So if you don't see a coefficient, well, you know that's a little imaginary 1. So 1, -1, -6, and 18. And again, we always divide by the solution for that linear problem. So x plus 3, if we solve that, you'd get -3. Or just remind yourself it's always the opposite sign. So we always bring down our first term. So now we're set up for synthetic division. We just got to go through the steps. So -3 times 1 is -3. And then we add these going down. So -1 plus -3, -4. Then I keep going. -3 times -4 is +12. If I add those down, okay, we're going to get +6. One more time, -3 times 6 is -18. If I add that to 18, I get 0. So what this tells me is we have no remainder divided evenly. So this is my constant term, my x term, then my x squared term. So how we write our final answer, well, these are your coefficients for your quotient. So 1x squared minus 4x plus 6. And remember, since there's no remainder, we don't have to worry about putting that little mini fraction on there. There's your quotient. Okay, let's do one more, number 2 here. So we have all my coefficients. We have 6, 5, and a -6. There's no missing terms to worry about. Everything's in the right order, so we're good. So I'm going to divide this by a -3 then, because it's always the opposite sign of what's in our parentheses. And we always start by bringing down the first term. So everything's set up. Let's go ahead and do our synthetic division. So -3 times 6, that's -18. If I bring that down, that's going to give me -13. Now, we might not be as familiar with the next multiplication, so we're going to do 3 times 13. Do it in a calculator if you need, but that's going to be 39. If I add that to a -6, I get 33. So here's my answer here. We got our remainder of 33. Our constant term is 13. And our coefficient for our x is 6. So if I wrote that, it'd be 6x minus 13. And again, since my remainder is positive, I'll put plus. So plus 33 over our divisor, x plus 3. Okay. All right, I'm going to do one more with you, and it's going to be number 4. And the reason I'm going to go over number 4 with you is because when I'm looking at this problem, right away I see x to the 4th, x to the 3rd. We're missing a term here. See how there's no x squared term? We need to add it in. So the way we can add it in without actually changing the problem is to give it a coefficient of a 0. Okay. So again, if I kind of rewrite this, this would be x to the 4th minus 2x cubed plus a 0 x squared plus 3x plus 1. Okay. If we divide that by x minus 3, we're ready for synthetic division. So anytime you have a missing term, add it in with a 0 placeholder, and it should help you kind of get your answer there. Okay, so I'm going to set up my synthetic division by bringing down all my coefficients. So 1, -2, 0, 3, 1. And remember, we always divide by the opposite sign of what's in our little parentheses there. So positive 3 here. We'll bring down our first number. So 1, And now we'll start our synthetic division. So 3 times 1 is 3. If I add that vertically, that's going to give me 1. Let's do it again. 3 times 1 is 3. Add that to 0, we get 3. Let's do it again. 3 times 3 is 9. Add that to 3, we get 12. 3 times 12 is 36. Add that together, we get 37. So this one did give us a remainder. We have a remainder, constant. Here's your x term. Here's your x squared term. And here's your x cubed term. So again, if you just start from the right and work your way up, you'll never get those wrong. Okay. So here's our final answer. We have 1x cubed plus 1x squared plus a 3x plus 12 plus our remainder 37 over our divisor, which was x minus 3. So there's my quotient. Okay. So again, double check before you start making your synthetic division. Just go through, make sure there's no missing terms, make sure everything's in the right order, and you should be good to go. I'm just going to group this a little smaller and neater for our notes. Okay. So there's 2 here you're going to try. So let's start with number 5. So it looks a little different set up just because it's written as a fraction, but it's the same thing. So bring down your coefficients for the numerator and divide it by the opposite sign. So if it's x plus 4, you're going to divide by negative 4. So go ahead and set up your division and try number 5. See what you get. Okay, if you did everything right, it should look like this. So we set up our synthetic division. We bring down the first number 1, and then we go through and start multiplying and adding. So this one you should not have had a remainder. So x squared minus x minus 6. If you put the 1s in front, it's the same thing. You just don't have to if it's a coefficient of 1. All right, let's try number 6. I told you guys to be careful on this one because there's probably something you need to look out for before you divide. So look at the problem on top. Is there anything missing you need to add in? If it is, add that in with a 0, and then go ahead and divide. So try number 6. Okay, here's all of your work. So we were missing the 0x squared. Okay, so if you see, I put that in as a placeholder of 0. And then I went and did all my synthetic division. So check your answer compared to mine. But I got the remainder of 10. Now, if it says 0, you can put 0x squared plus 0x, but you don't have to. So that's why my answer just goes x to the 4th minus 9x cubed plus 9, and then plus the remainder over your divisor, x minus 2. Okay. The bottom one just has a couple of reviews. I figured if you want to try them, I would just show you the answers. But here's A. This is a subtraction problem. So that's the answer I got. Just be careful, watch your signs when you do those. B is a multiplication problem. So if you want to try that one for a little review practice, there's the answer I got for B. Okay. All right, so that's all of our operations of polynomials. So that's the end of this section. Okay, so again, when you're doing synthetic division, just really quick, double check that there's no missing terms. Make sure it's all in the correct order, meaning the highest exponent goes first, and then it goes in the right order, descending order. Okay, and then set up your synthetic division, and then you just multiply and add until you get your answer.